She is the one person alive who claims to have known Meghan Markle before the fairy tale, before the prince, before Hollywood, before the brand. And this week, according to widely shared reports, Meghan's half-sister Samantha Markle is talking again. Loudly. The claim being repeated across royal commentary? That the family, in her words, knew exactly who she was all along. And a familiar voice, Lady Colin Campbell, has reportedly weighed in to say she isn't surprised in the slightest. Open the file. Because whether you believe Samantha or not, what she's alleging, and why so many people suddenly want to hear it, tells you how far the tide has turned. In this file I'll lay it out cleanly, who Samantha Markle actually is, what she is alleging right now, what Lady C has claimed about it, and, importantly, the counter-argument, because you deserve both sides before you decide. If you like this kind of no-nonsense breakdown, subscribe to the Crown Files and hit the bell. We open a new one every week. Let's get into it. Start with the source, because the source is everything here. Samantha Markle is Meghan's older half-sister. The two share a father, Thomas Markle. And for years now, Samantha has been one of Meghan's most vocal public critics. That's not an allegation, that's the public record. She has given interviews, she has written a book, and she has been locked in a well-documented legal dispute with Meghan over statements each side has made about the other. Now, here's the honest part, and I'll be straight with you because that's what this channel is about. Critics say Samantha is estranged and has an axe to grind, and that context matters. Supporters of her say estrangement is exactly why she can speak freely. Both of those things can be true at the same time. So when I tell you what she's alleging, understand the frame. These are her claims, contested by Meghan's side, and you are the jury. Because you can't understand the new claim without the old wound. The Markle family estrangement is the engine of this entire story. According to years of public reporting, the relationship between Meghan and her father, and between Meghan and Samantha, broke down badly around the time of the royal wedding. Thomas Markle didn't attend. There were the staged photo allegations. There were dueling interviews. The details have been picked over endlessly, and crucially, the two sides tell completely different versions. Meghan's account, given in her own interviews, is that she was the one hurt, that family members sold stories and caused pain. Samantha's account, repeated in her commentary, is essentially the reverse, that Meghan cut the family off and rewrote the history to fit the brand. I'm not going to tell you which is true. Nobody narrating this on YouTube, including me, was in that family. What I can tell you is that this unresolved wound is why every new Samantha statement detonates the way it does. And you have to understand the dynamics of estrangement to read this fairly, because it cuts both ways. On one hand, estrangement gives a relative a reason to speak. They've got nothing left to protect, no relationship to preserve, so they'll say what others won't. On the other hand, estrangement gives a relative a reason to distort. Old hurt curdles into narrative, and every ambiguous memory gets recast in the worst possible light. Samantha's critics lean on the second reading, her defenders lean on the First, the honest position is that both forces are probably at work, which is exactly why this feud never resolves. There's no neutral referee inside a broken family. There's also the legal shadow over all of it, and it matters. The two sisters have been entangled in a defamation dispute, claim and counterclaim over what each has said about the other. That's public record. And it means that every new statement Samantha makes isn't just a family jab, it lands in a charged environment where words have already been fought over in court. So when commentators package a fresh quote as a casual bombshell, remember there's a whole contested history sitting underneath it. Nothing here is said in a vacuum. Here's the new beat, and I'm quoting the claim being circulated, not asserting it. Samantha is reportedly repeating and sharpening her long-standing allegation that Meghan's public image, the humanitarian, the self-made outsider who was mistreated, is, in Samantha's words, a carefully managed story that doesn't match the sister she says she grew up with. The phrase getting quoted is that the family. Now, notice what that is and what it isn't. It is an opinion and a characterization from an estranged relative. It is not a document, not a recording, not proof of anything. The commentary space loves to package these as bombshells, but the honest label is a familiar critic restating a familiar grievance at a moment when the public is unusually willing to listen. And that last part is the real story. Because 2 years ago, this barely moved the needle. This week, it's everywhere. What changed isn't Samantha. What changed is the audience. Think about why. When the Sussexes left, a huge share of the public was on their side. The Oprah interview, the talk of mistreatment, the sympathetic documentaries, for a while, the estranged relatives were cast as the villains and Meghan as the wronged party. In that climate, a Samantha Markle claim was easy to dismiss. Of course, the estranged sister is bitter. But the climate has moved. After years of headlines, deals, and what critics call an endless victim narrative, a large part of that same public has soured. And in this climate, the exact same Samantha claim gets a completely different hearing. Nobody rewrote her script. The room just started listening. That's the whole engine of this trend, and it's the part that's shocking. Bombshell thumbnails never explain, including, sometimes, the ones in this very niche. So let me be honest with you about what you're really watching when a video like this trends. You're not watching new evidence surface. You're watching a shift in public permission to believe the critic instead of the star. That's a real, observable phenomenon, and it's genuinely more interesting than any single quote, because it predicts where this whole story goes next. Lady Colin Campbell, the author and royal commentator, one of the most watched voices in this entire space, has, according to the reports, responded to the renewed Samantha claims with something like, "Now, Lady C is polarizing. Her fans consider her plugged in and fearless, her critics consider her speculative and hostile to the Sussexes. I'm giving you that on purpose, because you should weigh the source. But her influence is undeniable. When Lady C amplifies a claim, it reaches millions, and it reframes a family grievance as a royal story. What she's reportedly arguing is the same through line the whole anti-Sussex commentary world has settled on, that the Sussex narrative is unraveling not because of one bombshell, but because the public has simply stopped extending the benefit of the doubt. But here's where I have to put my cards on the table about Lady C specifically, because credibility is the whole game in this file. Lady C is an author and commentator, not a spokesperson for the royal family, not an official source, and not a neutral party. She has strong, openly stated opinions about the Sussexes, and she has been wrong before, as every commentator in this space has. So when she says a claim doesn't surprise her, that is a reaction, not a confirmation. It's the opinion of a well-known critic agreeing with another well-known critic. That can be compelling. It can also just be an echo chamber tightening. You, watching this, are allowed to find her entertaining and still keep one hand on your wallet. And that's the discipline this niche usually lacks. Two critics agreeing isn't evidence, it's alignment. It feels like corroboration because the voices are familiar, but familiarity isn't the same as proof. I'm laboring this point because it's the single most important habit you can have as a viewer of royal commentary. Separate. A lot of people are saying it from it's been shown to be true. Those are different things, and the gap between them is where every viral royal rumor lives. Pause here. I want your read. Comment below. Do you think Samantha Markle is a credible voice, or a relative with a grudge? I pin the sharpest comment in the next file. And now the part most channels in this niche skip, the other side. Because if this channel is going to be worth your time, it has to. Here is the fair case for Meghan, and against taking Samantha at face value. 1. Samantha is estranged and has been in open conflict with Meghan, including in court. That's a real reason to be cautious about her characterizations. 2. The family knew who she was is an opinion, not evidence. It can't be proven or disproven, which is exactly why it travels so well online. 3. Much of what gets called a bombshell in this space is recycled, the same claims, recut with a new thumbnail. I'm telling you this because the algorithm rewards outrage, but you're smarter than the algorithm. The responsible read is that this is a bitter, unresolved family feud in which both sides have strong motives. And the truth is probably messier and more human than either the Sussex PR machine or the commentary world wants it to be. So, cutting through all of it, what do we actually know? We know the estrangement is real. We know Samantha has consistently made these claims. We know Lady C and the wider commentary world are amplifying them. And we know the public mood has shifted enough that a statement which once got ignored now trends worldwide. What we do not know, and I won't pretend otherwise, is whose version of the Markle family is the true one. Anyone who tells you they're certain is selling you something. What's genuinely newsworthy isn't a new fact. It's the shift. A family critic who was once dismissed is now being heard, and that says more about where Meghan's public standing is than any single quote. Here's where I land. Treat Samantha Markle's claims as what they are, the allegations of an estranged sister, contested by the other side. But don't ignore why they're suddenly landing. The audience changed. And that change is the real headline in this file. Tell me your verdict in the comments, credible witness or grudge. And if you want the kind of coverage that gives you both sides before the clickbait, subscribe to the Crown Files and turn on the bell. We open a new one every week. Next file, the report that a royal insider claims Buckingham Palace has run out of patience, and what that could mean for any reconciliation. That one's going to be big. Tilde for minute heavy checkmark times file aber Lupa Carda beat heavy checkmark times counter argument equals pattern interrupt plus credibility heavy checkmark.